I love the mess she's brought. It's a fire hazard.
It is shit. Could be.
So, hi everybody. I always feel like the shiny-headed stepchild on Tender Mouse. I'm not a performance poet by trade. I sort of circle performance poetry, and I go to the readings as often as I can because I absolutely love it. And the one time I listened to a literary poet, Billy Collins, it bored the shit out of me. So I don't read quite as long often. Like, my poems are shorter and literary, whatever the fuck that means. I'm cussing more than I normally do because I'm a teacher. And I went from a really rough school where nobody cared because, you know, I showed up every day, to a school where they care about everything, especially if Donald Trump says it. So I'm not allowed to cuss anymore. Or oppose racism, or trickle-down economics, you know. I'm also the most depressing, I think, on the press. Just to, you know, just to prepare you ahead of time. There's going to be some heavy shit. But a lot of this book was inspired by my students. They're really just my pride and joy. And it was all written when I was still in Tulsa. I'm in Dallas now. And the students have different problems, but of course, I teach teenagers, so there's plenty of problem to go around. Just call it something different. So I want to start with several poems about them that I never get to do. And this first poem, I've now read twice without sobbing. So let's see if it's a trend. Right? That's great. Okay. There are things I know by heart. No. Yeah, there it is. In there. I'm going to stop right now. You know. There are things I know by heart and things I had to skin my knees to not forget. 1. You will never be ready for the last time a student says your name. For the shotgun sent up like a prayer in an empty home. The retired jersey hanging in the rafters of a high school gym like a celebration. You will never be ready. 2. Pregnant will not always carry a lifetime. Not all of them asked for this. Some of them. 3. You get so used to single-parent homes and empty refrigerators that it actually surprises you when a student refuses the donuts you brought because he had breakfast with his mom and dad before school. 4. You won't know what to do with the first time you don't even flinch when a 15-year-old girl tells you she was raped. She doesn't lower her voice. Not a single student acknowledges her words. There's no story here. Nothing new to tell. 5. He will come to school the morning after his house turns to ash because he has nowhere else to go. He doesn't miss a single day and never asks for the popcorn in your drawer. You will watch in silence as he drops 2 weight classes in less than a week. You will pretend it is on purpose. 6. Students will call you so many things you did not expect. Hero will feel like a lie every time. 7. Caring comes so easy you almost don't notice how often your wife tells you that she misses you when you are standing right there. There are always more games, more concerts, more trips to the place where they take shoelaces and pencils. 8. I'm going to read this from a page so I don't break down. Yeah. 8. You stopped using a knife so they wouldn't call it cutting, but you let your fingernails grow and dig apologies into your flesh every time you don't know how to love it. You will feel safe enough to say this out loud for the first time in the middle of class on a Friday afternoon. 9. You will need their words as often as they need yours, and daily journals will turn into letters between classes that you cannot wait to read. Weekends will become swollen lungs and busy pages. It will always be easier to tell your story in the second person. 10. There are days I hold their journals to my chest until I remember how to breathe, because I don't know how to be anything, but still here, still listening, still. that's the happiest of the three about my students. I never get to read these other two, and I want to read them because it's just a part of the book that I'm probably most proud of. So I had a student, and I want to tell the story a little bit before the poem because it's sort of abstract. She attempted suicide as a freshman. She had me as an English teacher sophomore year, and then again junior year she attempted suicide. And the second time she attempted suicide, they committed her for about 10 days, just on suicide watch after the attempt. And she was only allowed to communicate with one friend. They had to write the name of one friend, and that was the only person who could visit her while she was committed. And that one friend could only bring one thing with her. And because we had established such a relationship, the thing that she brought every time was the journal, so that I could communicate with her. So this poem came out of that. The halls are quiet as a space station, filled with untethered astronauts banging noiseless on the windows. You are a stiff-necked pilot who won't turn around. There are cracks in my helmet. I can't breathe in the atmosphere of your absence. I want you to stay. Your life is a mouthful of molten rock you cannot swallow. There aren't enough pills for this. I want you to climb out from behind the pillow lava, to return from your journey to the whales, to adjust your eyes to a morning you didn't expect to see. Instead of a note, you left semicolons on everyone's wrists. We want you to stay. The surface of the earth is solid as it was yesterday. Is that? So the good news is she's thriving right now. I'm super excited about that. Actually, this right here. So in the journal, I wrote the word "stay" with semicolon after Andrea Gibson's poem. It was sort of a promise that a lot of my students made to each other. We had a daily promise not to kill ourselves, because I struggle with bipolar as well and self-harm. So I wrote "stay" in the journal, and she wrote it back to me as a promise that she wouldn't do it again. And this is actually her handwriting. And I got it the day she graduated from high school. She's now finishing her first semester as a college freshman, so I'm super excited. And as suicide tends to do, it caused a fractured relationship with her best friend. So this poem is sort of about what I saw in that best friend the day after at the game, because she was still forced to, perform as part of the cheer squad. You put strength into context the afternoon you described skipping school to be with him for the first time. You changed your mind, but he was 15 and dangerous. He is still dangerous. Triggers the hollow of an empty house every time he looks at you from across the room, but you never miss class. Not when your father gives his mistress a name. Not when your mother has spent shells. Not when your grades begin to fall. Too stubborn to know when to quit, you become a distance runner and learn how to let go the same month your father moves out. Campaign for student council president and win, despite being the only junior on the ballot. Leave a spiral covered in comic book heroes on my desk when I forget what it means to be strong. You carry the weight of a dying friend with squared shoulders and hot pink lipstick, because you aren't supposed to know her new home is a psychiatric ward. If you notice her absence at the football game on Friday night, I can't tell. You never miss a beat. Okay, so you all like food? Yeah, not too bad. I can't do it. So I do write about other things, and the other half of this, I would say, is about learning that I was going to be a father. When I was 18, I had an injury that led to the doctors telling me I'd never be a father. And then when I was 28, they said, well, you never know. So they gave me about a 3% chance, and we figured, what the hell, let's give it a shot. About a year later, my wife at the time got pregnant, and immediately everybody asked me, what do you want, what do you want? And I had the greatest set of twins in class named Perla and Esme. And I said, I want Perla and Esme, I want my own. I just want to take them home. And they were, I know that sounds creepy. But they were great. They were great. They're still great. I still stay in touch with them. And, you know, I ended up with my own set. I called them Molly and Helen, but essentially I got identical twins just like I asked for. So this is sort of born out of that, and it's from the book that hopefully is coming out next summer. Any luck? It's called Mischievous Mermaids, and it's an ekphrastic poem written, all of the poems in the new book are ekphrastics, they're written after illustrations. So the illustration comes first, I look at it and try to tell the story that I see. And this came out of an illustration, 5x5 black and white, with 2 mermaids and 1 scuba diver just walking along the floor of the ocean. I wish this were a better story. I wish my daughters were not already stranded in some tower. I wish there was no need for another cautionary tale. When the doctor said both babies would be girls, what I heard was teach them strength. The world will assume they have none. Teach them courage. There's always too much dark and not enough bright. Teach them loud. Men will call them sirens when their ships are splintered. Teach them worth. Teach them fight. Teach them flight. Teach them to breathe underwater so they cannot drown. Teach them to become their surroundings. Teach them. White men will come to claim their bodies without consent, dressed in iron hoods and weighted suits. Swim with the current until you find their artificial lungs, cut them. Let them stand at the reef like scarecrows. Let them serve warning, you are conqueror. The first time the doctor said your names, what I said was, I will not let this world take from you without permission. I will not let your story be fantasy in uninvited hands. But even that promise is a father and pride and savior. I am not your savior. You don't need to be saved. I will sometimes forget that. We'll dive into the waterlogged belly of a clipper ship I do not captain. Forgive me. I wish this were a better story. I wish it was not your lot to grow fins, to breathe where there is no air. I wish the first words you'd heard were, your body is your body. Your body is your body. So I'll give you 2 more. Apologies, Rachel, for sucking all the energy out of the room. What I do best. They're great, though. I love my little girls. I wish I had brought like a bigger picture that I could just pass around. I can't even. Stupid girlfriend texting me. This is what happens. I try to look at this beautiful picture, right? If you have great eyesight, they're just adorable. Is it still on? Okay, here, that's out of the room. That's all show and tell. Yeah. I love it. I stopped teaching at least once a week just to show new pictures, and my students love it because they don't have to learn. Yeah, but I love them to death, and they are the most obnoxious assholes, just like me. Everyone that meets me is like, wow, you really got yourself there, didn't you? But I have people ask me, they're like, you know, they say no a lot. Don't you teach them not to say no? It's like, hell no, they're going to get enough of that. You know? So I love those suckers. If you have babies, let them yell. You know? It's good for them. Just put it out there. So this book, you know, at the end, the first person I thanked was my parallel universe, and like universes, we totally drifted apart before I ever got my copies of the book in the mail. Just after just before our 7-year anniversary. So I'm going to depress you a little bit more here. Are you ready for this? So last November, a month after she left, I committed to a 30-30 because I was in a bad place, and a lot of my students from Tulsa were in a bad place. So we said, fine, let's do a 30-30. Everybody share their writing. we need therapy, and this is the only therapy that we can either afford or trust. So this came out of that. It's called The Archaeology of Leaving. I saved so many wrappers, every junk pile in the house looks like 1,000 coughs and nervous peppermint discs. Every one a memory not ready for the corners of a closet I never remembered to clean out. Paint chips hold my place in books years after the walls change seasons, after we sell everything we own and drive opposite directions. The distance between us, a sharp riddle we are desperate to make sense of. My high school ring is not in the jewelry box with the pearls, or hooked on the silver necklace behind the mirror. Nothing is left but the itch. That and the wallet you gave me on the 14th of a different life, a caged bird in my pocket I cannot let go. The side is still stained with black ink from our month on rotation in the NICU, the room numbers where they slept, your name, our daughters learning their parents in shifts too soon. What remains of this history but an inheritance I never wanted to share? I've only ever known 2 homes and 2 beds, holidays scheduled a year in advance, parking lot exchanges, and summers in strange cities. The only thing worse than this dance is a home heavy with silence. We agree, at least, on this. Swore we would not be that kind of family. Better to bury it all in a time capsule out back for the girls to find when they are old enough to see what we once were. Okay, and because I'm sad.
That's real talk.
That is real talk, and also one of the first things that that Andrea ever told me. It was probably the most important advice I've ever received. So I can't leave you sad because I'm hoping you'll buy something. I don't care if it's my book, buy somebody else's book. But you should buy something. I mean, they're letting us invade the bookstore after all. So this one is a little bit more celebratory. I do write about my body a lot. I have body dysmorphia because I had a relationship through high school and into college that was just not healthy for a lot of reasons. One of them being that she had an eating disorder. She was a gymnast and had an eating disorder, and that sort of translated to very belittling language in the home, which led to my body dysmorphia. And so my good friend Lauren Zuniga continually tells me to write letters to myself because it's the only time I'm nice to me. So this is one of those attempts. Also during the November 30/30 last year, just trying to get some thoughts down that wouldn't make me want to cry. It's called To Myself on My First Birthday. The day you were born, your mother cannot make sense of how small you are. She will remind you of this a dozen times most years. Your father will only laugh and tell you how he stored whole boxes of ding-dongs in the car for her cravings. Neither of them can believe it has been a year already. This, your first birthday, falls on Easter Sunday. This, your first cake, a blue bunny covered in coconut. You take one bite, spit it out, right as the shutter clicks. You will never live this picture down. You will come to love coconut, but not before you catch pneumonia, nearly die. Not before the special shoes that turn and turn until your ankles are straight. Not before the bionator that tugs at your jaw until the underbite is gone. For you, the body will always be a warehouse of pain. You will learn first to hate it hard. Catch your soft skin on anything sharp. Tear it open until it is a collection of seams. Know that it won't always be so. You will love this body. You will look at your seams and call them proof you are still together. You are not a mess of scraps. You will love the way every part of you heals. You will love mirrors again. You will look at cameras without flinching, without falling. You tired carnival. I confess this is not the last time you will eat cake through the crying. But you will eat cake again. You will eat cake again It will not always come with so much shame. You are but 10 pounds this afternoon. You will lose entire years to the shedding of that number. I promise I will not let you lose these 10. These first 10 are all of you. I give you my word. I will keep them safe. Thanks for letting me.